Super Bowl 58 MVP. Who's going to win it? Is it going to be Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant? Is it going to be Patrick Mahomes taking home the award again? Could it be Nick Bosa, Chris Jones? This is my list of players who have the best chance to capture Super Bowl 58 MVP. I'm going to start off with that man, Patrick Mahomes. He's the GOAT in waiting. He's in another Super Bowl once again, and if he wins this one, that's 3 now. He ain't too far away from Brady. Still got some ways to go, but he's making some progress. And you also know that Patrick Mahomes in a game like this is always going to give you his best performance. Unless the offensive line and everybody around him is just completely boo-boo, Patrick Mahomes is going to ball out. He's going to do his thing. And with that, he probably would be my pick to win MVP. But he's not. Because I believe that this game is going to come down to somebody winning MVP who's not Patrick Mahomes. Because my next candidate is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, we thought he was washed up. We thought he was done for. He gets to the playoffs and he just all of a sudden starts playing the best football of his NFL career. This is the best postseason performance or postseason run that Travis Kelce has ever had. And he's doing it when we all started to count him out. For him to go for 2 touchdowns and maybe have 170 yards in this game is possibly what it's going to take for him to win MVP. But I definitely believe that it's capable of happening. And if I was a betting man, I probably would put more money on Travis Kelce winning it than Patrick Mahomes, as crazy as it sounds. But Travis Kelce, I believe that he's going to have an all-time performance against this 49ers secondary. I don't think that secondary is good unless that pass rush gets going. And I really expect this to be a magical outing out of Travis Kelce. You may think I'm crazy right now, but I promise you, I really believe that Travis Kelce has better odds of winning MVP than Mahomes in this game, bro. Like, you got Taylor Swift there. So, of course, how epic would it be? You not only get Travis Kelce winning the Super Bowl, but you get a winning MVP too? With Taylor Swift there to support him winning that. Also, come on, man. Like, you got to take some of these things into account. Like, just think about it. Taylor Swift is at the game. She sees Travis Kelce not just win the Super Bowl, but win MVP? Come on, man. If Travis Kelce has one of those games when he just goes off, which I believe he will, there's no way they're not going to give him MVP. Like, Taylor Swift is there. A lot of people like to tell you that the NFL is rigged, and it just might be. It just might be rigged. But if it truly is rigged, why would they not want to give it to Travis Kelce when Taylor Swift is there? The ratings, the viewership, the popularity. I mean, come on, man. It just makes sense for them to want to give or find a reason to give Travis Kelce MVP over Mahomes. And remember that Brady didn't win MVP in all his Super Bowls. Like, didn't Julian Edelman win MVP one time from him? So I'm just saying, like, I think there's a lot brewing for Travis Kelce winning MVP. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. If he goes out and he balls out, I'm talking 275 passing yards, 3 tutties, no interceptions, 30, 40 rushing yards. He's winning MVP. Even if Christian McCaffrey plays well, like, running backs already have a low chance at winning MVP award as it is. Winning any MVP award as it is. All right, running backs just aren't really in the discussion when it comes to the Super Bowl MVP award. The last time a running back won MVP in this game was like in the 90s. I think it was Terrell Davis with the Broncos. Don't quote me on that. So Christian McCaffrey, even if he does play well, if Brock Purdy just has a game when he just is locked in from start to finish and he's going toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes, or hell, he even outplays Patrick Mahomes, or even if he engineers a game-winning touchdown drive and the 49ers win the game, like, there's no way he's not going to win MVP. Like, if I was ranking these guys, and this is not a ranking, this is just a list, it'll be Travis Kelce, Brock Purdy, then Mahomes. Like, they want to give it to one of these two guys. I'm trying to tell you guys, like, I took a little bit of a glimpse of the script. They emailed it out to me. I'm cool with Roger Goodell. I know some people. I know how to pull some strings. I'm trying to tell y'all, like, they're looking for a reason to give it to either Brock Purdy or Travis Kelce. Mr. Relevant, the last pick of the draft, winning Super Bowl MVP, after going toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes, you know they want to give it to him. So, he's on this list. Next up, I got Nick Bosa. Edge rushers always are going to be in the discussion for the Super Bowl MVP because they have one of the biggest tasks in all of football, which is being able to stop the quarterback, getting after him. And if Nick Bosa gets 2.5 sacks, he has one of those Von Miller-like performances that we've seen him have back in his vintage days with the Denver Broncos, he can win MVP. Let's say Nick Bosa gets like 2.5 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery. He'll have enough stats that he'll be in the running for that award because that would be an incredible performance. And we saw what he did against the Detroit Lions. He was really dominant in the second half. He didn't show up the first half, but he was getting after him in the second half. So Nick Bosa, if he has a great performance in this game, I could see him winning it as well. Christian McCaffrey, I believe it's going to take a lot for him to win this thing. Honestly, even if he goes off for like 110 yards and 2 touchdowns, I don't think that's enough. Christian McCaffrey has to have a legacy game. This has to be one of these games that goes down in Super Bowl history, where he goes for like 150 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 6 yards per carry. It has to be a monstrous stat line. Then he may have to have like 70 receiving yards, maybe 4 receptions. It's just really hard to see Christian McCaffrey winning MVP this year if Brock Purdy plays well or if Nick Bosa shows up, because the running back position just doesn't get a love. But I got to put him on this list because he's not just a running back. He's an all-purpose player. And with the amount of touches and the workload that he's going to get in this game, they kept him healthy for all of this season, and they're going to ride that boy in this game. And he is going to get at least 20 to maybe 30 touches at the max. So there is the possibility that he does have a monstrous game, and no matter what Brock Purdy does, you can't deny Christian McCaffrey, but you're pretty much saying Christian McCaffrey is going to have to be the best player on the 49ers offense. And the majority of times, that ends up being the quarterback in the Super Bowl. So it's just hard to see Christian McCaffrey winning this award. But at the same time, you still can't count him out. Next up, I have Chris Jones. Like Nick Bosa, he's one of those players that if he can take over this game, he gets 2-3 sacks potentially. He has a forced fumble, a couple tackles for losses. He's going to be in the running. And like somebody in the chat said, shout out to my guy Sean Ackridge, he said that Nick Bolton was the real MVP last Super Bowl. And he definitely had an argument for getting the award. Chris Jones is going to have the luxury of going up against an interior offensive line of San Francisco that is not good. And he definitely has a pathway to being in the running for Super Bowl MVP because we know how much of a monster and how much of a hassle this dude is for opposing offenses to handle. So I think that if he gets like 2-3 sacks, which I could see him probably having like 3 sacks in a game like this, you know, I could definitely see him winning Super Bowl MVP also. Deebo Samuel. Some of you guys might say Brandon Ayuk, but I go Deebo Samuel because Deebo Samuel, not only is he one of those players that always shines in big-time games, but he plays running back also. And they're going to have to find a way to give Christian McCaffrey a little bit of a breather, and they're definitely not going to put in Elijah Mitchell, I don't think. So the next best thing would be putting Deebo in. Plus, Deebo can hit the corner. He brings a different kind of skill set, and he's great after contact. He's like, when you watch Deebo Samuel run the football after he catches it, it's like watching Marshawn Lynch. It's like watching somebody play Madden 25. You remember Madden 25 when you could run over anybody? The truck stick just always worked. Well, that's Deebo Samuel. It's really hard to get this dude down on first initial contact. Like, he's always running guys over, mauling guys to the ground. This is one of my favorite players to watch. And I expect this offense to run through him and CMC. I don't expect George Kittle to have a big performance. I'm not expecting a big game out of Brandon Ayuk. I believe those players are going to make plays, but Deebo Samuels and Chris McCaffrey outside of Brock Purdy have the highest chance of being able to win this thing when you think about how electrifying they are with the ball in their hands and what they can do anytime you put the ball in their possession. Deebo Samuel, he could have a game where he goes for 160 receiving yards, 6 catches, and then has maybe a big run of 30 yards, and then a couple of other carries that boost the total rushing yards average for him up to 60, 70, and then he'll have over 200 plus all-purpose yards, which could be a Super Bowl record or something like that. So if he has one of those kinds of games that we've grown accustomed to seeing out of him in these kinds of matchups, he definitely can win MVP. These are my Super Bowl 58 MVP candidates. I know some people are going to say, what about Isaiah Pacheco? Like, I don't think Isaiah Pacheco is going to have the kind of game to be in the running for this award. Now, he is going up against a really lackluster run defense, but I don't think he's going to pop off for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6, 7 yards per carry. I don't think that's going to happen. Chris McCaffrey, even with him, it's just, you got to think about what he does in the passing game as well. And Chris McCaffrey, we know there's a good possibility he's going to be the best player on the 49ers offense potentially, if it's not Brock Purdy. But normally, with this award, majority of the times going to the quarterback can't be the best player in the game if you're going to give it to the running back. And I just don't think that Isaiah Pacheco is going to have a chance of being the best player on Kansas City's offense in this game. I really believe it's just Travis Kelce, because he's going to be able to pull off that kind of stat line where he has like 160, 170 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. He can't be stopped. And plus, Taylor Swift is there too, so that sweetens up the deal. Some people probably would say Brandon Ayuk, Fred Warner. I just think that the pass rusher or the pass rushers affect the game so much more, and they get so much more attention that for a guy like Fred Warner to win it, he really has to have a crazy game. Look at what Nick Bolton did last season. And especially in last year's Super Bowl against Philadelphia, you thought he should have won it, but they didn't give it to him. So if they didn't give it to Nick Bolton last year, imagine what the hell Fred Warner's going to have to do to win the award. So these are the 7 players that I believe have the best chance at winning Super Bowl 58 MVP. I got one more thing before we get up on out of here.